Welcome to Faith and Culture Uncut. In this episode, we're talking to Tim Morgan, CEO of Giver Marketing. I'm your host, Jonathan Charney. In this episode, we're talking about business and faith. And give us a little bit about yourself before we start.
Well, I'm a father of 5, happily married, and been in the business world for 20 years, but also the nonprofit world for about 20 years. Had my feet in both worlds for a while, and now we're helping people give back.
Well, that's awesome. So, I guess since you're CEO of Giver Marketing, give us the hubbub about Giver Marketing.
Yeah, I'm glad to. We're excited. We're helping businesses and nonprofits because I'm familiar with both worlds. Really find a strategy of giving that makes sense for them and increases brand awareness, client loyalty, and really increases sales ultimately. Bottom line for a business, that's why they're in business. Really, if you look at the statistics, 9 out of 10 businesses already give to charity as it is. So we're really just facilitating that and fine-tuning that to help maximize their efforts.
That's awesome. So how do you maximize their efforts?
Well, we have a wide range of products. We can do everything from helping them send out reminder emails, just professionally done, produce videos for them, make sure that social media is dialed in, web design, online presence really is congruent with their philosophy of business. Let people know. Ultimately, what we do is we take what they're already doing, what's working, and incorporate a giving strategy to it and just fine-tune that. And then we add other elements of marketing after that. So we don't come in and try to reinvent the wheel or anything like that. We take what's already working and incorporating their giving that's already happening, and we just make sure that people know about that in a tactful way.
So you enhance everything.
We enhance the strategy from a giving perspective. Yeah.
Awesome. So, since this show's called Faith and Culture Uncut, how does faith impact your work life?
Faith is really one of those things that permeates every part of my life. So therefore, it permeates every part of our business. But it's not a megaphone on the street corner letting people know. I don't have the plan of salvation on our website
so
or anything like that.
You're not doing the hellfire and brimstone street preacher.
It's just not my style. Now there are some people that it's like they're wired for controversy, and they're wired to kind of divide people into two camps, and there's evangelists out there that have this just great gift to communicate and really put a line in the sand. I'm more of a relationship builder, a networker, a long-term strategist. So I incorporate that into our business from a faith standpoint as well.
You're more of one of the guys that's see how I live, listen, watch how I live, stuff like that. See how I interact.
Yeah. The share the gospel at all times and use words when necessary kind of approach is oftentimes attributed to a famous person in history, and I find that to be a starting point. I think there are times when you need to use words. There's tough love. There's encouragement.
But you're not the speak softly and carry a big stick type of guy. The Christian that has to bong you over the head with the word of God.
No, my stick is giving and generosity. So
pay attention to that. So I guess the other question is, how does faith impact your personal life, and how much do you bring into your business life? Because you always hear people say where there's okay, you're a Christian at home, but you're not in business. Mm-hmm. How does that work for you?
For me personally, I had a shift that happened to me several years ago. I listened to somebody that talked about the fact that there is really not as much of a divide between the secular and the sacred. And I don't necessarily agree with everything this author has said, but this particular point was really interesting, and it had me thinking, because at the time I was working with a nonprofit and I had my own business. It really challenged me to basically think, okay, am I consistent in my personal life, in my work life, in my play life? Am I consistent when I'm having conversations with people? And I just find it a lot less stressful just to be consistent.
Yeah, it's a lot harder. It's a lot harder to, it's like a Christian like we are, and not not live a Christian in a business life. It's a little harder not just to be you.
I wonder sometimes if some of our stress comes from trying to wear too many hats and have too many, quote, arenas where we can share our faith, share our story, let people know about our personal endeavors. I know there's some things that need to be just personal, but ultimately when it comes down to it, transparency is very freeing.
Totally.
Yeah.
And I guess in the spirit of transparency, Tim Morgan has been a close friend of mine for a long time. Talk about transparency.
Glad to be here.
I figured that would
Appreciate it, John.
Oh, you're
Yeah.
welcome. So I guess in the same vein, what's your favorite way to share your faith? For me personally, I'm just kind of me, and everybody who knows me, it's kind of obvious I'm a Christian. You can't, I can't run away from it if I wanted to.
Well, I've seen you, though, John. You incorporate principles, godly principles, on a personal level, but I also see it come through in your videos, like we're producing right now, and in your workplace. I've seen you in the workplace, and you're very upfront. And if somebody asks you, or if you're in a conversation, you're very clear about your faith, and so it's not something you're hiding from. I take a similar approach when I'm approaching a project in the marketing world. I encourage people that, hey, there's some aspects of your business you're already doing that brings a positive message. It actually, and I'll ask people, are you a person of faith? It's good for me to know that, because then I can use certain language that makes more sense than in other projects with somebody that may not be a person of faith but still wants to give back. And so I have those conversations. They're frank conversations, but they help me market that company or that nonprofit in a very genuine way. It creates a viral storytelling kind of approach to their campaigns. And so I do incorporate that into my conversations. And oftentimes people will ask me, what about your faith? Like, I just had a conversation recently with a gentleman that's from a different faith, but we had a commonality in that we love to give back. And so that's a great relationship that's forming there, and very, very respectful to him. He's very respectful to me. In fact, we had a great time at a business function. So
you kind of alluded this to a little bit before, and I wanted to, I guess, get a little fine tune on it. Business ethics and faith ethics. How do those intertwine? Because a business, I've heard a businessman will say businesses are amoral. It's all about the bottom line, and you're a marketing guy who owns a marketing company whose business isn't the bottom line.
Yeah, it's not the bottom line. We measure the bottom line.
It's important,
but the purpose behind it is to be very genuine with what you're already doing in the marketplace. So, for example, we will take what somebody's already doing from a marketing standpoint, incorporate the generosity and giving that they're already doing, because 9 out of 10 businesses give back, according to Forbes. That's the statistics. 90% already give to charity as far as businesses. So we incorporate their generosity that they're already doing into their marketing strategy, and then we basically make sure that their ethos, their ethics, their who they are is already built in to that strategy. I'm surprised more marketing companies don't do that, because it's a reflection of their mission, their vision as a company.
So I guess we're skipping to some of the fun questions.
Oh, geez. Okay.
I do a show called Real Flicks Reviews, and since I'm a movie buff, I actually love asking this question. What are your 2 or 3 favorite movies?
Well, the ones that come to mind are Cinderella Man with
Russell Crowe.
Russell Crowe, yeah. Gifted Hands.
That's the one about Ben Carson?
That's the one about Ben Carson, yeah.
The guy running for president.
That's right.
One of the guys running for president.
Yeah, one of the candidates. But I would say I have to throw Braveheart in there just because I wouldn't be a regular human being if I didn't.
The movie that launched 1,000 bad impressions.
And a couple of good quotes. But ultimately,
I can't deny that
I also am a fan of documentaries. I know it's not always the... Well, I think it's because it's storytelling at its base. So,
But it's supposedly, minus some people I think aren't telling the truth, it's supposedly supposed to be a true story coming from a certain perspective. It's not
at least live.
Yeah. Well, it's
Or,
not like a movie like, you hear a movie that says, "Oh, this is based on true story." The only thing that's true about the story are the names and possibly events. This is supposed to be what actually happened.
I guess it's not always live, but it's based on some element of truth, right?
Yeah. Well, yes. It's real people in real events.
There you go. I
Supposedly.
like that. That's a better definition.
And what's your favorite book besides the Bible?
Favorite book? There are some books by people like Malcolm Gladwell that have really challenged.
He did something about giving, didn't he?
Well, he's done some books on all different kinds of subjects, but he's got a book about David and Goliath that just came out as we're kind of recording this. But that's an interesting book, and it's a more recent one that I read. There are other classics that I could mention, but Malcolm Gladwell. There's a book called Give and Take by Adam Grant. That's one of my favorite on giving. The research behind it, the business philosophy behind certain people and their corporations that have actually generated high amounts of sales just by being genuine givers.
Favorite quote? And then I'm going to ask you a couple of follow-up questions regarding the stuff we talked about
John.
before.
Appreciate it.
Let's log you into relaxing a little bit.
Favorite quote?
Well, I can tell you mine.
What's yours? Okay.
One of my favorite quotes is actually by Sir Winston Churchill.
Yes.
It was, if I'm remembering correctly, it's, "I like pigs. Dogs look down at you. Cats look up at you." No, excuse me. It's, "Dogs look up at you. Cats look down at you. Pigs consider you equal." There's also...
I don't know if I could memorize that.
There's another one, and there's another one going. It's with Lady Astor, and she says, "Winston, if you were my husband, I would poison your tea." And he says, "Madam, if I was your husband, I would drink it." And by the way, that's really hard to follow, so your turn.
Wow, you got me good on that one. I can only remember the never, 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 never give up.
How do you remember how many nevers are in that quote?
It's very difficult, but... Yeah, that's a good quote. I like give and it will be given back to you. I think that's a one to live by kind of a thing. And there's some quotes that are a little bit more like, I live by this, and there's some that are just funny, like what you're saying. But
And so, I guess in this section I wanted to kind of have stuff that makes people think. And a question, I guess, is, what are some shifts you see happening in faith in culture? Because this isn't business, this isn't funny, this is, how do you see shifts as a man who's a businessman and a Christian and a father and a husband? How do you...
Yeah, there is definitely shifts happening in our culture. There always has been, but once a country gets to a place where they've kind of lost trust in government institutions, large corporations, banks, stock markets, even church organizations to some extent. When the trust level goes down, there begins almost like a decentralized thinking that happens, relationship-based thinking. No longer trusting and relying upon just the large entities. And I think there's a huge shift happening. I would call it decentralization of trust.
Wow. So how do you see that affecting businesses and I don't know, churches? I mean, how does that affect them? I guess would be a better question.
Well, when it comes to faith-based organizations, I'm noticing that if there's not a relationship-focused element of their organization, and churches included, they will have high turnover,
Mm-hmm.
and there will be a loss of long-term growth. So you might have a short-term growth having an event, but the long-term growth will not happen unless relationships are built and genuine, like you always talk about on your show.
Wow. Well, we kind of ran out of questions, actually. So I guess another random funny one, because what's something that's funny that happened to you in your business career, personal life? Just something funny.
Funny. Okay. All right. Wow. Switching back and forth on me. I like this, John. Keeping me on my toes.
A little bit.
I remember being asked to speak publicly at a nonprofit event or an organization, and I had a bad cold, the week before, and it just wasn't going away. So I grabbed some Sudafed that morning, or the night before, I think, and it still wasn't out of my system. And
No. That can't go well.
And I was up on stage talking and letting people know I was high on drugs, and it did something. I felt like I was in the clouds, and the truth of the matter is I don't do drugs except for Sudafed, and
well, not anymore. We've kicked them down to maybe
down.
1 or 2 colds using Sudafed.
That's right. So I keep it to a minimum on the Sudafed now, because I had divulged my whole life in front of everybody at that nonprofit event. People came up to me afterwards just smiling and grinning, and I guess it was memorable.
Hey, well, I guess that's the old line, if you're gonna bomb, at least make sure everybody remembers it. Not saying you're bombed,
Thanks, appreciate it.
You're welcome. I love you too.
Thanks for having me, John. I appreciate it.
Well, thank you for watching Faith and Culture Uncut. As I say in my show, Real Flicks Reviews. We'll see you next time.
Yes.